Hello everyone, this is MC Squared.
And the Otaku Jock.
So, the new trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi came out Monday night, so we're gonna talk about it.
Good time to talk about it. We're doing this audio because this is just an easier way for us to sort of do this turnaround. But yeah, lots to unpack with this trailer. This was quite a trailer. No two ways about it, everyone. If you weren't already excited for December already, well, it's been ratcheted up.
So, where to start with this?
The easiest thing that you could start with is just sort of the implications. You hear Snoke at the very beginning, presumably talking to Kylo Ren, saying...
But he could also be talking to Rey.
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
But I think he may be talking to Kylo, yeah.
Yeah, he basically saying that when I found you, I saw that you had all this unlimited power, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, not that much longer into the trailer, we see Rey during her training with Luke, and
Luke says
awesome.
Something like, I've seen this kind of raw power before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now.
And we get the flashback, presumably, to some of the scenes that we saw in Rey's flashback back in The Force Awakens. So that's already something to unpack right away, knowing that there's some kind of a connection between Kylo and Rey. Now, this is actually something that has me very curious about this. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think we've always sort of suspected since the characters were revealed for The Force Awakens that there might be some relative connection between Kylo and Rey. The extent of which we don't really know. Is she her sister or cousin, or who knows? Because there's always the speculation that she's Luke's daughter, and I feel like the whole lost relative thing is too predictable at this point with Star Wars. Ever since I'm Your Father, it's like people expect there to be some familiar connection.
Well, it would make sense that if there would be some kind of familial connection between Rey and Kylo, simply because you're now basically getting it thrown kind of right in your face that both of these characters, it seems like they have a very strong Force potential. Kylo, of course, has had his training for that, but Rey, of course, as we know, was dumped on Jakku at a young age and never got the proper chance to go through her training.
It looks like we are finally going to get a one-on-one duel between Finn and Captain Phasma.
Finn wielding that electroshocker device that was used in his one-on-one battle with one of the stormtroopers in
TR-8R, I believe the fans have nicknamed him. People have suggested that fight should have been with Phasma, and thematically, yeah, that would have made more sense. But it looks like we're finally gonna get that here.
I think that maybe Rian Johnson was listening to the fans a little bit with that one. Also, a little interesting was seeing Finn marching on what looked like to be a First Order ship. It seeming like dressed up in First Order garb. Now, I have to wonder: does he attempt to go undercover and then gets found out? Which leads to that big moment.
No, that's just another ripoff of A New Hope.
Whatever. I mean, look, I think that the biggest thing that we're getting from this is definitely not going to be just trying to duplicate Episode 5. I mean, there might be some things that really might make it the biggest spiritual successor to Empire Strikes Back in quite some time, but we don't know that just yet.
I mean, yeah, I'm predicting at this point that people are going to be saying that those walkers are going to be at the start of the film, like Empire. Interesting walker designs. They're basically a take on the AT-ATs, but it kind of looks like they're walking on their knuckles in the front.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It almost looked like that they were almost like, giant gorilla inspired.
Kind of, yeah.
Not so much like how it was not so much like the AT-ATs in Empire Strikes Back.
Jim, robot camels.
Oh boy.
Might as well call this game Bird versus Camel.
But no, and we also get another shot in the trailer that has Kylo flying his cruiser, I guess is what they're calling it.
Oh, right.
And it's seeming like he's
It makes sense that it would evoke Darth Vader's TIE
right,
fighter, the fanboy that he
right.
is.
And we see the moment that he's setting up to destroy what, leading an attack, it looks like, on the Resistance, and seemingly being put with the decision, okay, you need to destroy basically the last connection you have to that last life, which is General Leia at this point.
I'm pretty sure he's gonna go through with it, given circumstances.
Circumstances, yeah. Wouldn't be shocked at that at all. I mean, it's an elephant in the room that's going to be resolved one way or the other, I think, by the end of that movie. But, we just have to wait for December to find out about that.
I mean, it could be that originally he was supposed to spare her, but then things happen and they probably said,
Maybe. I mean, we'll certainly know about that probably after the movie comes out in the coming months, when, everyone just dives in and starts to analyze this thing to within an inch of its life.
Mm-hmm.
But other stuff in there. I mean, also seeing Poe say this phrase that, we are the spark that can light up enough to defeat the First Order once and for all. So it's obvious that he seems like he's much more focused, and there's more intensity to him than I think we saw in The Force Awakens.
I certainly hope he gets an expanded role in this one.
I agree. I mean, he was one of the best parts of The Force Awakens.
And he just disappears for the second act.
Yeah, that's true. Well, at least until the end of the second act. So let's keep that in mind. I was a little surprised we didn't see a whole lot of the new characters, aside from probably the most popular, or who could be the most controversial addition creature-wise to this new cast.
The Porgs.
The Porgs.
I find fans so hypocritical about this, because I'm seeing on lots of Facebook posts about them about, they're cute, I'm sure the kid will love them. Well, then why are Ewoks such a bad thing?
Why are Ewoks such a bad thing? Why are Gungans such a bad thing? Well... that's another topic for another time.
It's like, this time it's okay? What?
Yeah. Hypocrisy is nothing new for this fan base. Let's be fair.
If you like the Porgs and don't like the Ewoks, you're a hypocrite.
And like I said, hypocrisy is nothing new to this franchise.
And I'm not saying you're a bad fan with that. I'm just pointing out a hypocrisy there.
So we have that. And then we also see a one-on-one, it looks like, between Snoke and Rey.
Yes, Snoke in the flesh. So I remember some people speculating that maybe there's a sort of Wizard of Oz thing going on where, like, he's like something little that projecting himself as something large, but I don't think that's the case.
No, I think that ship has sailed with this trailer, friend. I don't think that there's any debating about that at this point. I mean, he looks big, he looks fierce.
Well, he looks human size.
I'm curious to see if they go into his story at all in this. If they go for any kind, to see what kind of a connection he might have to, say, to Palpatine or the old Empire as a whole.
I'm still not convinced that he's Darth Plagueis.
No, not at all. I'm not convinced either.
I mean, why can't Snoke just be Snoke?
Agreed. No, I mean, everyone... Well, you know why Snoke can't be Snoke? People can't let go of the expanded universe.
Well, that was something that was dropped in episode 3, not the expanded universe.
No, but I admit at this point, it's just like, everyone is wanting some kind of a connection to the expanded universe, as long as it's in the movies, and God forbid they try to do anything from the expanded universe in a television show.
God forbid.
Yeah, I know, right? But right now, it just looks as though that I think that Snoke, right now, I'm still curious about Snoke, and I know that, we didn't learn much about him in episode 7. I don't think that we were going to learn much about him in episode 7. I think this is where everything, where a lot of motivations and everything are going to gel, and we're going to get some more answers from some of the questions that were raised in episode 7. I've always looked at how this trilogy was going to work as they're going to set the table for for episode 7, and I think that that was very clear.
You mean episode 9?
Well, no, I'm talking about for the trilogy by itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The trilogy by itself, they were going to there was going to be introductions and just setups with not a whole lot of answers in episode 7. We're going to get some answers and probably some changes or maybe some gelling of motivations here in episode 8. And episode 9, well, that's going to be the payoff. Who knows how that's going to be? I mean, especially now knowing that Colin Trevorrow is out and J.J. Abrams is back in as director for that.
Oh boy.
I still am not sure how to feel about that, because this has me, I think, more curious than...
I mean, I feel like if they were gonna repeat a director, do it 2 films in a row. Don't do it A, B, A.
No, I agree with that. I would have hoped that they could have at least pulled Rian Johnson for maybe one more film, because, just from the looks of things, this looks already like, this guy lives and breathes this stuff and can really put together a good movie. Like, this looks probably the best that Star Wars has ever looked, and it feels so Star Wars.
Oh, I thought Rogue One is incredible.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, say, like a main series movie. Let's be real about that.
An episode, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, at least one that doesn't have George's hands in it. But no, I mean, this has me, very curious. And then the final scene from the trailer.
Kylo Ren extending his hand to Rey.
Now, this is something that kind of came into my head when I was rolling it around in my head today when I was out doing chores, and I kind of had it thinking to me, are they working on doing something that's reminiscent of, say, Jason and Tahiri from the old expanded universe?
The only similarity I see there is that she's a girl.
Well, I mean, her background is at least somewhat similar. I mean, raised on a harsh desert planet.
Well, Tahiri Vela was raised by Tusken Raiders on Tatooine, and Rey was raised pretty much by no one. Like, Unkar Plot takes her in for like maybe a year or 2, and then just says, all right, you're on your own.
It's just an idea that kind of came up to me, mainly because it's just like, it wouldn't shock me if that's what they're trying to do here. We kind of bring in a few more references from the old expanded universe. Now, whether or not they're going to make the fans happy is still up in the air at this point, but...
Now, one thing I've noticed is that we still have not seen Benicio del Toro or Laura Dern.
And we didn't see any of the other characters that are new in this movie, like Rose.
With the new action figures, yeah.
Exactly.
I am still wondering if Laura Dern is Luke Skywalker's not Mara Jade wife.
Maybe. We didn't get any scenes from this that's based on that, I guess you could say, Las Vegas-inspired world that they've been talking about.
I have not heard about that. That sounds interesting.
Well, I think that's where Benicio del Toro's character is from. I'm pretty sure.
So he could be like doing The Collector again or something.
Maybe. It's just something that's come to mind. Maybe I'm mistakenly putting it like that. I just think that there's potential there for other things. I mean, this trailer had a lot when it came to potential story for the characters that we knew in episode 7, but it also left a lot of other elements just sort of by the wayside. Now, granted, that could possibly be just trying to play your cards close to the vest on this one, because I don't know if we're going to be getting like the big game-changing twist or not at this point. It's hard to say. This is, of course, from Anthony Breznican from Entertainment Weekly, pretty much the go-to guy for that publication when it comes to Star Wars. This is what we got here. The only thing that we know of his character is that he's named DJ.
DJ?
Yeah, well, that's just what it says. There's nothing official for it.
So just 2 letters?
Well, I don't know just yet. But
you're reading it.
That's just all that's known about his character at this point. Here's the big line right here. We also know that DJ is part of the mission that John Boyega's Finn and Kelly Marie Tran's Rose undertake to the wealthy gambling resort city of Canto Bight. So maybe not a planet.
Okay, so I think this is what people are going to be pointing at, saying, "Oh, look, it's a ripoff of Cloud City."
Well, yeah, they're looking for anything to make the connection to Empire, but no. But this is the interesting thing. We didn't see anything. It looked like from Canto Bight, unless of course that's on the planet where we see those walkers and those land skimmers that we saw in the teaser trailer. You know, the one with all the red smoke and everything.
Right, right.
So I have to wonder what that's going to be like. I don't think that that's going to be at the very beginning, because remember, this movie is picking up pretty much right after the end of Episode 7, which is, again, a first for Star Wars movies, because there's always been some gap of time between movies in this line at this point. So we don't know what to expect from that. So that's Canto Bight. We haven't heard anything about what Laura Dern's character is going to be just yet. Like, I don't think that's even been revealed at all. So that's probably one that's being held pretty close to the vest as well.
If anything, they'll probably have very small roles like Max von Sydow ended up having.
Probably. I mean, but let's be fair. Even small roles are going to lead to a lot of speculation. There's just no two ways about that.
So I think that about covers everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, not only do we have this taken care of, we also have the upcoming final season of Star Wars Rebels that's coming out, I believe next week.
Oh, really?
I believe it's listed as October 15th. Isn't that Saturday?
Dang. I hadn't heard anything about it.
Well, I showed you the trailer, and...
Oh, no, I knew that. I saw the trailer, of course, but that was a few months ago.
Well, a few months ago? It was only about a little over a month ago. The second trailer for Season 4, which I should point out had the date, was posted on September 2nd. So, yeah, this Saturday, we get the two-part episode Heroes of Mandalore to start the fourth and final season of Star Wars Rebels.
Mandalore, ah.
So I need to go back and I need to finish the
season 3
of Rebels, because I missed a couple episodes.
And you call yourself a Star Wars fan?
Oh, shush! No, but this is probably our last, unless we get another little big bite of information sometime in November. This is probably the last big bite of information on The Last Jedi that we're going to get until the movie comes out on December 15th. So
it's strange that they've been holding out on trailers so hard for this movie, because, like, The Force Awakens got 3 and Rogue One got 3.
I think that, something I heard on RFR a couple weeks ago was, I think part of the reason they've kind of limited the trailers for this one. Did you notice how much stuff that were in the trailers for both The Force Awakens and Rogue One that wound up not being used in their respective movies?
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of why they held off on advertising it in any such way. They wanted to know that what we're getting here is that we're not going to be going with wild speculation prior to the movie being released.
Because remember when Kylo Ren was definitely Luke Skywalker?
Oh, what a time so long ago. No, I mean, we all pretty much were thinking that pretty much from the very beginning when the first teaser trailer came down back in 2014.
I never thought that he was Luke Skywalker, because he had an actor cast for him.
No, that's true. I'm saying, what I meant is that that's what the broad, speculative Star Wars part of the fandom was thinking.
No, I remember those theories coming out like a few months before the film came out, like after the third trailer maybe came out.
Well, I think that I heard a lot of that. I think I did hear some of that Lucas Kylo stuff from the very beginning. So yeah, at least that's a little hard to say for that. But no, we've got ourselves a lot of stuff. Comics are still coming out. We have Rebels to tide us over. You could probably rewatch, of course, Episode 7 at least a couple more times. Pick up on maybe a few things here and there that maybe will do us well going into seeing The Last Jedi. So, good time to be a Star Wars fan, as it seems.
Good luck. Good luck telling that to the pessimists.
Well, and as well, I also nearly forgot. You realize what comes out next month?
Battlefront 2.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
The stuff going on with Battlefront 2 right now.
Yeah, the loot box controversy that's coming out about it.
Total Biscuit discussed this. Angry Joe discussed this.
It's depressing. No two ways about it.
Hopefully this is just a beta problem and they fix it for the release.
Yeah, if those loot boxes and those bonus cards can allow things to be just overpowered and multiplayer right from the get-go, it's not going to be a fun time. Especially, I mean, I certainly hope that the matchmaking in Battlefront 2 is much better than the original.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even though we got in on that late, we barely could do anything in the Battlefront multiplayer.
Because it's like, oh, you want to level up? Here's a whole bunch of professionals against you.
Yeah. But thankfully, because there's a single player campaign on this one, that might make it a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, but is the single player just the story, or are there other modes that are single player? Does it have galactic conquest again, like the original Battlefront 2?
As long as it has some of the stuff, as long as the single player mode is fun and lasts long enough. I mean, hopefully there are a couple of other single player features that'll make things a little bit more easy to play.
God,
through.
I hope so.
I mean, because look, Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront looks amazing, but
it was severely lacking.
It's so paper thin. DICE should have been ashamed of themselves for that.
It's been good training for me in preparing for this game, but God almighty, that loot system.
I really hope that this system doesn't, really turn it into a pay-to-win type scenario, because if it really does, then I mean, it was one thing when Overwatch did it, because
those were all cosmetic.
Exactly. I mean, and look, it's frustrating with Overwatch because there probably would have been more than enough people that would have been perfectly fine buying a lot of those things, just setting aside a little money for that. But the fact that they had to put those in boxes, that's definitely frustrating. But now, of course, you had the whole thing that happened with Shadow of War, the
Lord of the Rings,
the new Lord of the Rings game, which completely just screwed up with its loot box system, and now you got this that's going on. So, I mean, again, an idea that is brought up in the industry and then is absolutely taken to its worst possible end game, which is something that a lot of well-meaning critics have basically been criticizing now for the better part of the last 2 or 3 years. You only certainly hope that Battlefront 2 is going to be just a lot of fun, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what the story mode is going to be like in that.
So, anything else?
I think that's about it. I think that we've covered pretty much everything we can. All we just got to do now is just keep counting down the days to December 15th and make sure we get our tickets in decent enough time.
Alrighty.
So that's going to do it for us.
Until next time, may the Force be with you.